What's going on? Welcome back to the channel. So today when I talk to you about Lucid. Big day is here. I want to break it down on some of the data points, what's moving it, and go over everything else that you need to know. But first, make sure to hit that thumbs up, and with that, let's get right to it. So Lucid is up 4.61%. Surprisingly enough, it's actually the most green on my whole watch list. 1944 the low, 2140 the high, and a little bit better for volume. So 7.7 million shares being traded, 10.6 is the average. As I mentioned in my video yesterday, all Lucid needed was a little bit of buying, enough that it would be able to get over a key wall of resistance, and then it could easily push to that $21 range. And that is exactly what did happen. Unfortunately, there wasn't really that much justified reasons to keep it there because there wasn't any news from Lucid today, any SEC filings, even on social media. This was the last thing that they did post, and it did come out yesterday. So it's not really new information. And besides, it's just more, I guess, marketing rather than a catalyst. Coming from a market macro standpoint, we did have building permits and starts early this morning. Didn't really come in line with the forecast, but market didn't really care all that much. What the market is really focused on is interest rates. So it is fair to assume that we're going to be getting that 25 basis point cut. But as I've mentioned in previous videos, it is going to be what Powell says afterwards. And whether he hints at a October cut or not, that's what's going to be really moving the market. And on a side note, there wasn't any new analyst ratings or anything along those lines. So as you can kind of see, last couple ratings did come out roughly 9 days ago, 13 days ago, roughly there. One thing to take note of though, going back over here, there's only about 64,000 shares available to be shorted. So I think shorts days are numbered. It's getting kind of narrower and narrower. Even on the actual chart itself, it is now above that super trend. So you'll have algorithmic trading really working in your favor to kind of push higher. Aside from all of that, you see a couple articles bringing up how Lucid's at a substantial discount. And one thing I wanted to share with you is looking at the PS ratio, because of course Lucid's not profitable right now. So looking at the PS ratio, it is currently at 6.5, future is 3. And even looking at, for instance, Rivian, I think that's a close comparable. That's what the market generally compares to, aside from Tesla. But Rivian is sitting at 3.4, and then the future is sitting at 3. So I think Lucid is in reality trading at a pretty good discount. It's just the Wall Street, in my opinion, just doesn't believe that Lucid is actually going to be hitting between that 18 to 20,000 by the end of 2025. So we'll have to wait and see. Once we get the Q3 numbers, we'll be able to digest exactly how accurate that will be, or if they'll need to, or if they'll fall short or something like that. When it comes down to shorts, it looks as though that they are returning a little bit, roughly around 3 million shares. Cost to borrow average though has jumped up dramatically. So that is sitting at 53.85%. So again, that's an annual rate, not a daily rate, but still it kind of will make a little bit of a difference. One thing to take note of though is that DTC is sitting at 3.04 days. So it does signal that shorts are very overextended. And plus you can kind of tell that based on just the available shares. Aside from that, looking at the options, 3.26 million in calls, 6.06 in puts. So a lot of big money is placing their bets for what Powell is going to say and how that's going to really impact Lucid. 36% of all the options being done are bullish in nature. That's kind of the consensus right now, so that's always kind of good. But coming from a bull standpoint, you see a consensus for it to be roughly around that $22 and above by this Friday. So a lot of that will be coming from today. Bears are anticipating for it to be sub 1850. So they're kind of anticipating a little bit more of a pullback. From the secondary market, you see it somewhat evenly divided, both buying and selling. First thing, there was a lot of selling right here. So a couple big ones that did bring it down. So 3.6 million, 1.6, but since then, kind of saw some buying going on, so that's always a good thing. Dark pool, very popular today, and based on shorts and hedge funds, it goes to show that big money seems to be buying. You can kind of tell that as well based on on the overall flow, which I generally do bring up. Algos on a side note are very much in force. And like I mentioned, with it being above the super trend indicator, it does mean that it's really working in Lucid's favor. Aside from that though, looking at the market position right now, you see a couple walls roughly around that did reform about the kind of high 20s. So if Lucid's able to get above that, then in theory, it could easily push to that 22 or potentially higher. And again, that's kind of the bull's standpoint, is that $22 and above is on the table. 50-day moving average. I think we all kind of generally know what that means for Lucid. That is a very, very big pivot, and that's sitting at 22.71. So in reality, if Powell actually comes out fairly optimistic and hints at a cut, then I wouldn't kind of put that off the table. So if it does get above that 22.71, then things could get very real very fast. So hats off to the individuals that did buy into the post reverse stock split fear when it did hit 15.25. So absolute craziness as far as that. And you never know, if Lucid actually does put out some pretty good news, get some good ratings, that could even push it up a little bit more from there. But I think right now the big thing is Powell. And so yeah, I think just generally, even though we're not seeing that much in articles coming out, I think Lucid's at a pretty good deal, if you ask me. So let me know your general thoughts on Lucid. Have you been buying? Have you been swing trading? One thing to even take note of for today, the range is 9.94%. So kind of in either direction. So I think out of everything post reverse stock split, we've had a fair amount of volume of just day traders. And because yeah, if you time it right and if you're good at technical analysis, you can make some very, very good money just kind of swing trading this, because again, if it swings almost about 10% every single day, which for the most part it has almost, you can make some pretty good money on Lucid. So I think what I might be doing, if for whatever reason there is a dip, I will be starting to sell more and more puts. So for those of you that do remember, I did buy a little bit at the $20 mark, and that's because I did sell $20 puts and I did get roughly around 50 cents in premiums. So my average based on that is about $19.50. And so that's the very first purchase that I did do post reverse stock split. So again, if it does dip, maybe I'll start to sell a little bit more $20 and $19 strikes for the puts. So if you guys don't know options, highly suggest and kind of taking the time to research that. With that said, I appreciate all of you watching. Let me know how you see things playing out. And then one final thing, if you are looking for some solid buy signals on stocks, options, crypto, pop over to my Patreon. I give daily day trades, numerous swing trades. Definitely worthwhile to kind of pop over there and take a look. Link in the description below and also the comments. With all that, appreciate all of you watching.